Tony Kornheiser. I always said when I hit 90, but that was 3 years ago, and here I am. So it looks like I'm here for the duration, doesn't it? It looks that way.
You're like Tom Brady. Maybe you'll go to 95, 110. Who knows?
Yeah, well, if I was like Tom Brady, I'd be eating avocado ice cream, and I draw the line at avocado ice cream. I do not eat that. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Aaron Rodgers wins his 4th MVP. The Rams and the Bengals get set for the Super Bowl, and Steve Young joins us for 5 good minutes. But we begin today with Kevin Durant deliberately snubbing James Harden from Durant's team for the All-Star game. Durant would have picked anybody other than Harden, and in fact took Rudy Gobert over him, claiming he needed size and defense for the All-Star game, which is a joke. Wilbon, what does this tell you about Durant's feelings towards Harden?
It doesn't tell me as much about Durant's feelings as it tells me about Harden. You know, I mean, Durant's going to feel some kind of way. Anybody sitting in that seat, anybody confronted with a bunch of great players and their names would say, "What? I'm sorry, this guy just left. He just rolled up out of here and got on the Acela and went to Philly." And, anybody, I don't care who you are, you're going to feel a certain kind of way about a dude doing that to a team that Vegas at one point found to be the favorite to win the NBA championship. So it doesn't tell me much about Durant. It tells me more about Harden saying, "I don't want to be here."
A lot of people tried to find humor in it. I saw that today. I didn't find it slightly amusing on any level. I thought it revealed something about both guys, but I certainly think it revealed something about Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant looks at James Harden and says, "You are dead to me, pal. We were teammates in Oklahoma City. We were teammates in Brooklyn, and now you're dead to me." Durant did that with Russell Westbrook when he left Oklahoma City, and he didn't even bother to tell Westbrook about it. I mean, I think at core, Durant has a coldness to him. I think that he gets involved in certain things as long as they suit him. And when they no longer suit him, he just walks away. And that's, I think, makes him a great teammate for Kyrie Irving, who does exactly the same thing. And I'll get to Harden, because you're right about Harden. I like Harden as a player, Mike. I think he's going to average 30 points a game with the Sixers, and I think they can win. But he walked out on Houston. He walked out and he said, "I want you to trade me to Brooklyn." And he walked out on Brooklyn. And he said, probably, "I want you to trade me to the Sixers." So anybody who doesn't think he's going to walk out on the Sixers needs to have his head examined. Because that's what's going to happen down the road.
Well, I don't know. Down the road, they may need to walk out on him. Because when you see the projection that when James Harden gets to 38 years old, if Philadelphia agrees to this next extension, this max super duper 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 max contract that would pay him $60 million plus at the age of 37 or 38. If you're Philly, you got to try to win this year or next year. You got Harden now. He's already opted in for $47.5 or whatever $1 million next year. You got to try to win this year or next year, and then probably say, at 34 years old for James Harden, no, we're not signing that. Now maybe he and Daryl Morey have a handshake or a bro hug or whatever they have, but I'm not paying anybody $38 million, not even the great James Harden. No.
I agree with you. I just want to point out one thing.
What?
This big three that you talked about that Vegas at some point may have made the championship favorite, this big three, they played a grand total in 2 seasons of 16 games together. Yeah. That's all. They played 2 together this year. Number of titles, 0. You know, we will never know how good they could have been, but we can be certain there is no love lost among them.
No, that's why I want to see them play in the very first round. Maybe a 2 versus 7 matchup. I want to see them play, and I want to see one of those big 3, whatever, eliminated. Get out, one of them. That'd be fun. Let's move to a modest little event that kicks off in about 49 hours, the Super Bowl. The Rams have been designated stupidly and unnecessarily as the road team, even though they're playing in their own home stadium, and are favored over the Bengals. Tony, which team would you like to see win this game, and which team do you think will win this game?
So I'm going to draw on my experience as a newspaper man for about 40 years, and I'm going to tell you that the better story in terms of who would win would be Cincinnati. If Joe Burrow had a great game and Cincinnati won, that is the better story. Cincinnati was a joke franchise for a long time, and Joe Burrow would anoint himself as one of the great young quarterbacks of all time. Because in a 3-year period, he would have won a college championship at LSU, and he would have won the Super Bowl with Cincinnati. The arc of that is tremendous. The only people who've ever done that or Joe Namath and Joe Montana. All three Joes, that's rare air. That's a pretty good club. That would be the better story. But if you ask me who's going to win, Mike, I got the Rams, and I think it will be decisively.
It's interesting how you and I went about this differently, apparently, because the better story to me was whatever unfolded that night that I didn't know about. Like, the better story was Mike Tyson biting off a dude's ear, and I couldn't have seen that coming into the fight. And I just waited to let it go. And so I don't know what the better story is going to be. I don't have a dog in this. I don't care. And I can work myself into some phony reason to pick a team that I'm going to side with and root for in that game. I don't have that in this game. I don't care who wins. But I think the Rams will. As you know, all my life, because I root for a team that usually has no quarterback and no discernible offense, I root for defense. That's all I understand about football. The Rams have that. They got Donald.
Yes, they do.
They got defense, and the other team has no offensive line. All right? The Bears beat the Bengals in the regular season. So I think that the defense will take apart the Cincinnati offense. And so that's what I think will happen. I don't care who wins, but I think that'll happen.
I'm going to tell you why I got the Rams. The Rams, I watched them after they got Rodgers. I'm sorry, after they got Stafford, and I told you I thought that they would win. I watched them pick up Odell Beckham Jr. I watched them pick up Von Miller. They picked up stars in a city that cares about stars. They don't care about tomorrow. They've thrown out their draft choices as if they were Daryl Morey. They don't care at all. They want to win now. The Dodgers do this every year. The Lakers do this every year. It doesn't always work, Mike, but they're trying to win right now, and I admire that. I do. Aaron Rodgers was named MVP of the NFL last night for the second straight year, and his fourth time overall. Wilbon, will you remember Rodgers' season for this MVP or for other things?
No, 4 MVPs, I don't know. How many MVPs did Brett Favre have? He had a pocket full of them, too. No, I'm going to and not other things. I don't care about the Aaron Rodgers off-field drama. I know a lot of people do, and they spend a lot of time on that. I really don't care about that. Dan Marino went to 1 Super Bowl, right? Rex Grossman went to 1 Super Bowl. I'm going to remember Aaron Rodgers still stuck at 1 Super Bowl. He's great.
But he won.
He's okay, but he's won. I've been talking about dynasty of 1 all year. 1 doesn't sort of separate you. It doesn't, right? Mike Trout is a great player. We don't even, not the Premier League where they have no playoffs. We got playoffs and everything. And if you don't win them, you sort of get relegated. And Aaron Rodgers is great. Too great to be relegated personally. But, MVP, so what? It was awarded on a Thursday night at an award show. I don't care about that. I don't.
Yeah. I'm glad he won the MVP because I think it's deserved. I've always liked Aaron Rodgers, played golf with him, always enjoyed the small amount of company that I had with him. But I'm going to remember this season for other things. First and foremost, immunization. He took a big hit to his reputation and his standing for what he did with COVID. I don't know that you necessarily recover from that. He made the entire season about him. He hijacked the season. He was always talking about where he's going to be next or what's going on and the beautiful mystery and all of that. And it dominated the year. And then he lost in that game, Mike. He put up 10 points at home in a playoff game. And we vote him, or they vote him MVP, and it's deserved. And it allows us to say what a great quarterback he is. But you know what, Mike? You're right. In the playoffs, which is what matters, he's not that great a quarterback.
No.
He's not.
Nope.
And that's what I'm going to remember. Let us take a break. When we come back, we will ask Steve Young what he would do if he were playing behind a porous offensive line.
I guess he needs to play the Bears in the playoffs every year. He could own them. And we'll also ask him to explain what it must be like for Eric Weddle to come out of retirement and play in the Super Bowl a few weeks later. Rodgers is great, but, playoffs? Yeah, playoffs.
The MVP, Mike, it has a whiff of Dirk Nowitzki when his team got booted out in the first round.
It was a 1 seed.
And he got the MVP.
Lost.
And it became hollow.
But he came back and won later, so maybe Aaron
That was the worst loss in Rodgers' career. That playoff game is the worst loss. And here to help us understand it better is our great friend from Monday Night Countdown, my teammate back in '89 when we beat the Bengals in Super Bowl 23, Mr. Steve Young, who we love and we have missed. And we are so happy to see you. And now, here's the first question. We had Booger McFarland on yesterday. He said he thinks the Bengals' offensive line may be the worst he has ever seen in a Super Bowl. So pretend that you are the quarterback working behind that line, and you're staring at Aaron Donald, and you're staring at Von Miller. What are you doing to counter all that, Steve?
Well, the first thing is you cannot get into 3rd and long. If you get a 3rd and 8+, if that's what the Bengals end up in, they're going to get mauled. Now, if they can convert those a few times, fine. But you've got to be able to 3rd and short, because if you have a bad offensive line and you're 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, you can survive it. You got to run the football. You guys know that. Get the play action going. You can't be going empty backfield a bunch of times early. And you can't get Aaron Donald and Von Miller going, right? They smell it. Defensive linemen, they're like predatory. They can smell it. They can smell weakness. They can smell trouble. And I'm telling you, you do not want them smelling anything in the first quarter, because that's when they're like, oh, you're going to have a long day. So 3rd and short is vital. Watch that first quarter. If you're seeing 3rd and long, you know the Bengals are in trouble.
All right, we've been asking our guests all week, Steve, which quarterback they would rather have going into the game. But we're going to pull a switcheroo now and ask our quarterback which team he would rather have going into Sunday.
No question, the Rams. The Rams have, they had indigestion with OBJ. They had indigestion with Von Miller. They had a new quarterback like Tom Brady in Tampa with Matthew Stafford the whole year. It takes time to get everybody integrated. They have a great locker room. Cooper Kupp. Look at Whitworth. They got great guys. And it took some time to put it all together. This team is by far the best football team in the league right now. If there was 5 more games, Tony or Michael, the rest of the way, they would win all those games. The Rams are as good as they're going to get this season right now at a perfect time. I would pick the Rams all day, every day, and on Sunday.
Wow. Okay, I want to ask you about Eric Weddle. He's not playing. He's been sitting out for more than 2 years. He gets a call, come back and play. This is every retired player's dream. It's like, Walter Mitty for sports. You can come back and play. But so what must that be like, and do you still fantasize yourself about coming back even now?
Do you think there's a chance? Like, this is a league for look, Eric Weddle's a fool because he's a defensive player coming back into an unfair fight. But how awesome it is that he gets to do it. But in 2022, the rule changes, safety, protocols, the CBA agreements, that's all tended towards the unfair fight with offense. So if I'm an offensive player, every offensive player that I know that used to play wants to come back right now, because quarterbacks tell you the flats are open, the middle of the field's not patrolled, they can't hit you. This is like nirvana for offensive football players. For Eric Weddle as a defender, that's super cool that he got to come back, but this is not the era of the defender. So I mean, good luck to Eric.
Let me follow up real quick, Tony, before with Steve. So did you ever come close to coming back? You were such a great athlete. You had to have something in the tank. Was there a year or two where somebody called you and said, hey, Steve, we could use somebody down the stretch here?
Michael, this is a longer subject, but you never really leave the game, because it's what took every inch of yourself, physically, spiritually, emotionally, every bit of yourself to be good or great at it. And there's nothing else in life like that. There's more sublime things than family and marriage and all this stuff that goes on, but nothing like that takes every inch of yourself. And when you leave, you crave it. And everyone wants to recreate it out in the world. It's not there. And so you always tend back, especially around playoff time, especially around Super Bowl time. That was the most exciting part of it. Even 20 years later, you think, wouldn't it be cool? Wouldn't it be great? Because you're drawn to the thing that took every inch of yourself. And that's natural. We shouldn't begrudge that. And people shouldn't look at old players and go, oh, they just can't give up on the old days. No, they can't give up on what took every inch of themselves to go be great at.
All right, I'm going to get you out of here on this. I'm going to assume, because you said the Rams were that good, that you're leaning towards the Rams. So I will stay with this topic and bring in Tom.
For the 2 greatest turnarounds in this millennium. Joe Burrow selling touchdown.
Touchdown!
Joe Burrow selling great throws.
Burrow throws it into the end zone for Chase. He's got it!
And he's on his way to get the ultimate prize.
When you watch a dude walk into a stadium, blinged out with the coat, you can tell he's been in New Orleans way too many times, and he does not care.
He's turtlenecked up. He's chained down.
I make too much money to have fake ones, so these are real.
Chain swinging, big jacket, loving. Joe Burrow is coming
we gritty in, we get in the gap, we doing everything in Los Angeles because Joe Burrow is that dude.
Don't take this man for granted. He will not go quietly into the night.
You know who else doesn't go quietly into the night is these two LSU boys here. You know what? Sometimes it is actually fun to celebrate our LSU boys. You two, that's been a fun journey for both of you. As Joe Burrow, you just ridden right on his coattails to success. But
I'm fine with that.
What is it about Burrow that allows him to shine in the biggest moments?
He doesn't know how not to shine. I mean, I think that's as simple as you can put it. Every time this man has been on the big stage, he's performed. Yeah. And he's one of those players that elevates his play as the moment gets bigger, whether it was in Tuscaloosa or playing Georgia in the SEC championship, Clemson in the national championship, and now throughout these playoffs, he's always been able to play and find the moment to help his team win games. And the other thing that I love, you can't tell what game it is when you look at Joe Burrow. There's a naivety and somewhat of a presence that says, you know what, I was put here to win these games and make these plays, and that's all he's ever done.
Dan is mortified. We did an intro on the quarterback. He wasn't a part of it. He is mad. I wish they would have put the camera on him.
His intro's coming later on the other quarterback.
I fell asleep during it.
Look
Wow.
Listen, I think this is very important when we talk about Joe Burrow. As good as he's been, as much as we've lauded about his poise and his patience, and all of the tremendous performances that we've seen him have, this is going to have to be the best game of his career ever.
Yeah.
In college, high school, all of that. And the poise is what gives you the confidence that Joe Burrow is ready for the moment. But poise don't have a damn thing to do with making plays.
Right.
He's going to have to make plays. And Joe Burrow's legs, his mindset, his ability to put the ball in tight windows, and his ability to fight through adversity. We saw this guy get sacked 9 times against the Tennessee Titans and did not blink. I'm going to tell y'all right now, this is an absolute different animal with Aaron Donald and Von Miller on the line of scrimmage. He's going to have to be the best he's ever been.
Yeah, okay, so it really speaks to how much Dan loves Matthew Stafford, because he also loves Joe Burrow here. The fact that you're maybe being slightly critical. Let's take it to the field. What does the game plan look like on Sunday for Burrow?
I think there's 2 things that Joe Burrow can do to control a phenomenal defensive line. Number 1, throw the ball before guys are open. And then number 2, trust that those guys, wide receivers and tight ends, will make contested catches, because that's how the reality of the defense is going to play. Now, Joe Burrow, this is his superpower. Doesn't want to go to left because the way the coverage rotates. He wants to work to his right. So this is all a sequence of how this happens. Flat defender goes out. My tight end's got a hook route. Now, that hook defender really should be flowing to the tight end, but Joe's got to hold him with his eyes. Watch how quickly this happens. And the ball's out right now. No defender's going to get near him. There's a contested catch. Dude, you got to go make this one, okay? That's a touchdown. So those 1 and 2 things happen together. I got verticals. You always start frontside safety. If he's deep enough or wide enough, I feel really good staying to my frontside tight end. Joe does an awesome job of realizing the only guy that can take the play away is the backside safety. Again, watch how quickly this happens. The receiver's not open, but the ball's coming out of his hands before he's ready for it. Dude, go make a contested catch. The guy is right there. If the Bengals are going to have success in the football game offensively, I think that has to be the theme for Joe Burrow. We've talked about this defensive line, and we talked about Jalen Ramsey. We've talked about how great he is with his poise. That is the fundamental thing that has to happen in this game. If he does that consistently over 4 quarters, ball coming out before guys are open, they make that catch, and then not only a contested catch, but do something with it, then they got a shot. And the Bengals have more yards after the catch in this postseason than anybody.
So I'm not sure, to your point, that there's a quarterback in football who trusts his receivers more to make contested catches than Joe Burrow. It's almost like his youth, right? He just believes in them. F it, Jamar out there somewhere, right? And look, the question I think we all have going into this is, will they be able to generate any explosive plays given how quickly the ball's going to have to come out? I think back to that play, actually, against the Chiefs, not in the postseason, but in the regular season. He threw that ball on 3rd and 27 in 2.07 seconds.
It's outrageously
so
fast,
he'll be able to, deliver some go balls in a quick amount of time. But I would also say this. Don't just lean on go balls to Jamar Chase, because he's so fantastic at generating yards after the catch off of screens and slants. You can still be explosive without being vertical.
This illustrates what we're saying, too. No quarterback has gotten more production out of his pass attempts than Joe Burrow this season. Here's a scatter chart to show it. We love these. The higher on the scatter chart the player is, the more yards per attempt he averages. The further to the right a player is, the higher his completion percentage over expectation is. Look at Burrow, top right corner. And that's because because he leads the league in both this season, meaning he not only gets the most production out of his passes, but completes the toughest throws. It's that trust, but it's also that ability and that ability to get the ball out quickly. Let's stay with the Bengals here, guys.
Last night.
Yeah, exactly. All the way there by himself. All right, I got it. Let's stay with the Bengals here. We're going to get our field report brought to you by Windows 11 and Intel. Sal Palantonio has been with Cincinnati all week long, embedded with them. Sal, you just had a one-on-one with head